despite improving economic conditions, almost two-thirds of South African consumers say they're not coping or only just surviving in the current economic climate. This is the finding of research conducted by Interact RDT. Joining me to discuss the survey is Managing Director Gary Greenfield. Gary, thanks very much for coming in today.
Hi, Stephen.
Well, Gary, we have unemployment rising, 171,000 jobs lost in the first quarter of this year, unemployment at 25.2%, and that's excluding discouraged job seekers. Inflation is still coming into range, but it's still tough for some people, so it's not unexpected that consumers aren't coping at this stage.
Absolutely not. It's not expected. But the question that we asked is, what are they doing with their household income if they don't have enough to go around? What we're finding is that many consumers are saying they don't have enough to cover their basic essentials. And so they resort into alternate means in order to bridge the gap. That being finding a second job, lapsing on their policies, which obviously has an implication for them going down the line, and also we found taking out loans and overdrafts.
Well, when you talk about lapsing policies, are we talking about investment policies, medical aid, insurance policies?
All of those things. And what we're finding is that there's been a decrease in spend from the survey results in investments and also in medical aid. What we found, there has been an increase in your basic living essentials, such as your transport, food, municipal expenses, and whilst those are rising, people are still getting more and more into debt.
So what's the implications of this going forward, though, because you're losing your financial security for the future, so it's damage that's being done today that's actually going to last into the future if you are cancelling policies, isn't it?
Well, that's the concern, and it's a concern for the individual, and it's also a concern for government, because obviously they'll need to deal with, if people aren't saving for their retirements and medical conditions, they're going to have to foot that bill some stage down the line.
Gary, let's just go back a step. Why was the survey done and who was included in this survey?
The survey was done to ask consumers how they cope in the current economic climate and what are their opinions about South Africa's economy going forward. We get a lot of economists speaking about their professional opinion about the economy, but we wanted to ask consumers where are they at the moment, and that was the reason behind the survey. The survey was conducted through an online panel, so the audience is mainly your upper segment in your major metropolitan regions.
So people with access to the internet?
People with access to the internet earning between 5,000 and 50,000 rand a month.
How about people in rural areas? Because they should obviously be feeling the pain as well.
Absolutely, and they are feeling the pain. But the focus on this study was more that segment. And what we're doing is we're doing this as a tracking study. This was the first of many, a quarterly study that we are doing, which was aimed at a certain specific segment. And in the future, we will be looking at the other segments.
Did you ask them in the survey how they feel about conditions going forward? Because we have had lots of interest rate cuts, 550 basis points in the current cycle. Things should be starting to improve. We do have inflation back in target, so things should be starting to look a little bit better.
There is a positive outlook in the economy going forward. There's still a large percentage of them feel that we are still in a recession, and many of them feel we are coming out of a recession. There's about almost 20% of the sample that felt that things are going to get worse still in the next couple of months before they're going to get better.
Were these people that you surveyed employed or unemployed or both?
Most of them employed.
Most of them employed.
Yes.
How about big ticket items? We had car sales figures out earlier this week, and it shows a steady increase in car sales reported by NAMSA since January. So people are out there buying cars.
Absolutely, and it's quite interesting because we asked them what they spend their money on, and even though they're not covering their basic expenses, a large portion of their household income is still going towards car payments. We did see that, and that is a trend. We haven't seen a decline yet, but we'll look forward. Obviously looking forward, see how that goes.
Mobile phones, are they considered an essential or are they a nice to have?
Mobile phones are still considered an essential. I think what we found is that they prioritized very little of the income was going to personal expenses such as grooming, clothes, but mobile phones was of a greater priority in that sense. And what we also found is that obviously people want to spend more money on their social well-being. So if they're under this debt pressure, they know they need to spend on investments, but it doesn't mean they're necessarily going to spend should things get better in the next couple of months.
Are they paying off debt at the same time? Because we know that household debt remains at very high levels.
They are paying off debt. They're telling us that they are contributing towards debt. There's been an increase towards their contribution for debt. However, it's not a priority. What we found is that debt and investments was low on their priority scale, and food and personal items was of a high priority.
Okay, and you said this is a quarterly survey, so we can expect you back in 3 months to tell us how things are improving.
Yes.